Okay, guys, I think we're ready to rock here. So let's get going. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the SA Voice podcast. My name is Leighton. I'm one of the hosts and producers here. Today, I am joined by Jared. How are you doing today, Jared? Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. My name is Jared. I'm a second-year Police Foundation student and a resident advisor on the Kingston campus.
Awesome. Welcome. Good to have you. And today's guest of honor, we're joined by Reilly Gill. Reilly Gill is a sales team lead with The Gathering in Calgary, Alberta, Forbes #1 rated marketing conference on the planet. I've been a couple of times. I highly recommend you guys go. Reilly, thanks for making yourself available, man, and welcome to the podcast.
Man, thanks for having me. It's a real honor. This is the first time I've ever done a podcast, so it's a real treat to be on here today, and glad to be joined with Jared as well.
Awesome. Yeah, we have a lot of fun. It's a little bit of a different podcast format. We record these ones over Zoom just to give our viewers, a visual component. But Reilly, thanks again for making yourself available. We're super excited to have you on. I know you have tons of knowledge about the business world and especially the marketing platforms that you guys use to kind of attract clients and stuff for the conference. So we're super excited to hear your insights on that. But let's get into it. I know Jared has some questions to fire off with for you.
For sure, yeah.
So Reilly, how did you get started in the industry? What made you want to go into this industry particularly?
Great question. And it's quite funny because, I never really thought of getting into the industry. I wasn't planning on getting into it at all. I was super comfortable with and thriving, in my current career at that time, which was a product development manager for Canadian Tire. So I was doing a lot of the in-house product development and manufacturing for Canadian Tire, Sport Check, Sport Experts, and loving every minute of it. But at the same time, I was volunteering for The Gathering for about 5 years. And after that 5th year, the GM and director at the time, Brad Foster, actually approached me at the event and, had a great chat. He thought I'd be a great fit and do well at the business development lead. And so, I took that back, and really I had to think about it for a couple of weeks because one, one of my older brothers was the founder of The Gathering and the chair. And two, again, I was loving what I was doing. So there's a lot of deliberation that went into it. My brother and I have been talking about working together for, 10 plus years. There's been a lot of deliberation around that. And secondly, before I accepted a job like this, I wanted to have the freedom to start my other companies as well that I had in mind. So, lots of negotiation, and, it took probably 2 to 3 months of negotiation, and, I finally accepted and, couldn't be happier. So that's kind of where I started and how I got into the industry. So.
Nice. That's a cool thing. Did you have to move locations to do this current job in Calgary?
Well, yeah. I was working at the head office for Canadian Tire, but however, Canadian Tire had one of their head offices in Calgary at the time, so I didn't have to move cities. But again, moving industries is completely it's scary, right? So that was the biggest thing around that, but definitely didn't have to move cities to make that career change.
Yeah, that's good. That's always key when people are making a career change. If you have to make a city change as well, definitely add some added stress
for sure
to it. So kudos to you for that. So Reilly, tell our viewers a little bit about what your current role entails, what you do on a daily basis, and some of the stuff that you absolutely love about it, and maybe 1 or 2 things that isn't quite your favorite.
Oh, okay. Well, good question. I love everything about it. But my current role is the business development team lead, where, our team is responsible for bringing in $2 million in revenue between passes and partnerships. And so I'm at the forefront of that. And also, I'm responsible for curating the right audience as well. So, between bringing in 1,200 brand leaders from across the globe, it's also my responsibility and to bring in some of the right partners as well. And so that's kind of, the main objectives of my role. And so I guess some of the things I don't enjoy is really probably the systems part owning, you know, the CRM tools that I have to use. I'm not really a systems or analytical guy, but you know, it comes with the territory, and that's one of the responsibilities. So I've kind of learned to like it, or to at least bear with it. But that's kind of, yeah, I would say that's kind of the main bulk of what my objectives are. Sorry.
Cool.
Yeah. Go ahead there, Jared.
Okay, so tell us about your company, Woodborns, and
For sure.
why and how you co-funded it, because it seems like you took something you're really passionate about and you really liked, and you found a way to have it make you money. So tell us about that, because that seems super cool.
Yeah, for sure. And just to maybe correct you, I didn't co-found. I am a co-owner, but the co-founder actually got rolling back in 2013. His name is Josh Rice, and he's still co-owner with myself. But you know, the story really got going. It's a funny story, actually. Let me rewind, because I grew up skateboarding. I loved the culture. You know, I had a ton of really close friends growing up, you know, that also loved it. And so I've always actually wanted to own a either skate shop or a brand. And so funny enough, you know, let me fast forward again. So, you know, Woodboard started in 2013. You know, when founder and still part owner Josh Rice was really salivating at the thought of kind of a smooth riding cruiser that would kind of shed the pesky size and weight of an industry dominated longboard. And so he got to work, and you know, having a full-time job, he didn't have a workshop of his own. He moonlit at a local Vancouver wood shop, and started working and reworking this cruiser style shape, and it's really been a timeless shape for us. And you know, what started as an ode to simplicity and really unwillingness to cover up the natural woods. We also paid homage to the 60s and 70s surf skate style scene. So, you know, so let's move forward a little bit. So that started in 2013. In 2018, I ended up calling Josh, and it's funny enough, because I have a lengthy story of, you know, how I met Josh. You know, I grew up in Brockville, Ontario, but ended up moving out to Guelph, Ontario, actually at the ripe age of 16 or 17, somewhere in there, due to tragedy actually. And one of my best friends at the time lost his brother at 22. And so I actually picked up and left my parents' house, moved to Guelph, to spend time with my buddy at the time, and still really good friend, Jeff Seneschal. But I made a ton of awesome friends, lifelong friends there. And one of those guys was Josh Rice. And that's, you know, who started Woodboards in 2013. So I kept a close eye on Josh, and, you know, I noticed in 2018 that his social status was kind of dropping, or you know, dropping off. And so I ended up calling him. I didn't hear much about Woodboards, and I ended up calling him one day, and just saying, you know, what was up? Like, you know, I shared my dream of, you know, I shared my dream of owning a skateboard company or brand at that time, and asked him kind of what was going on. And he said, man, like, you know, I love this brand. I just can't keep up with the demand. And, you know, that's kind of where it all began, because, you know, he kind of laid dormant for a bit. And I said, well, look, like, I have the experience in product development, in scaling out brands, in manufacturing. And I gave a promise to him. I said, look, like, you give me half that company, I'm going to help scale out this company again, and make it relevant in the industry again. And you know, so far over the last year or so, you know, we've seen tremendous growth and almost like a rebirth. And, you know, even over the past 4 months, we've seen, you know, back to back record sales. So it's been an incredible ride. And you know, from there, we brought on another partner who runs our creative side of the business, Devin Smith. Again, I met him in Guelph, Ontario as well during that year I was there. And so, you know, we've seen tremendous growth. And yes, I love the skateboard industry, and it's been amazing to be able to create some monetary value from it as well. And now, you know, as we continue to grow, We've taken an elevated stance on sustainability, ensuring every board sold results in another tree planted. Actually going into forests in Haiti, which we all know is a very impoverished country, and so we're actually almost up to 3,000 trees planted now, and
Wow.
and we're continuing to grow on the operations side of wood boards, where we've been able to hire out a social media and marketing consultant. We're contracting out photographers and videographers, so it's been nothing short of an incredible ride, and yeah, from there, I'll just quickly touch on some growth from there. Is we all partnered for wood boards, but we actually ended up building another company called Wheelhouse Development that specializes in product development, manufacturing, sourcing, and importing goods, not just for skateboards, but for other stuff now too. So it's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. Congratulations for that. That takes it takes a large leap of faith to kind of go into business with people and your friends especially.
For sure.
But how just for our viewers and for some information, how does the difference feel to you in terms of working for a company compared to working for something you own and you're passionate about? Just describe what that feels and looks like for our viewers.
For sure. I mean, well, first off, we all still consider the gathering a startup. So there is a sense of ownership there. And, there's a lot of accountability and work that goes into it. And I really do treat the gathering as my own business as well. So I try to treat it with an entrepreneurial mindset, and it's done very well for me so far. And so I try not to separate the fact that I work for a corporation and that I have my own businesses. I try to treat everything equally and go in with the same mindset with that. So but again, there's I do come from working with Canadian Tire, and in that corporate world there's a ton of politics that go with it, and but there's a lot to learn in the corporate world as well. But I'm not necessarily a huge fan of corporate world. I find myself much more successful and loving my lifestyle more, treating everything as it's my own. So that's kind of where my mindset is anyway.
Yeah, no, that makes tons of sense, and I can definitely see why you would have that mindset. So let's rewind a little bit. I'd love to learn a little bit about you as a person. So we know you love to skateboard.
Sure.
We know you're kind of an outdoorsy guy. Tell us a little bit about your background. Obviously, you said you grew up in Brockville, but I know, and I'm just going to make a plug here, you seem to come from an amazingly successful family. I know your brothers have done quite amazing things in this world. Tell us a little bit about your brothers and your parents and how you kind of got your start in business.
Yeah, for sure. So like I said earlier, we grew up in Brockville, Ontario, just a small town southeast of Kingston, about 20,000 people. We definitely did not come from a wealthy family at all. We lived in a small little townhouse, my two parents and my three older brothers and myself. So we grew up, with the mindset of working hard. And that's really where I learned a lot of my skills and mindset really is through my parents and my older brothers. Not only are they my brothers, they're my best friends and mentors as well. So, and man, my mom is still working at 70 years old. My dad's semi-retired, but he still, keeps busy with driving bus and getting out fishing and stuff. But, that's where it all started in Brockville. And then like I mentioned before, I made that move early on to Guelph, and made a lot of lifelong friends and even business partners out of it. Was there for a year, and then actually I ended up moving back to Brockville for a year to work at Procter and Gamble, to actually save up some cash for college. And so I did that. Worked at the factory in Brockville, Ontario for a year on the Swiffer Jet line and Swiffer Duster line, and
Nice.
and so did that for a year, and ended up making the decision to go to Algonquin College to take my small and medium enterprise management course, which was a 2-year diploma. But after the first year, I was never a school guy anyway, but after the first year, I ended up getting a call from two of my brothers that were already here in Calgary. So Rob and Ryan were already out here, and they called me after my first year finished, saying, "Look, man, you don't need school. Like, just get out here." I think they called it the land of opportunity at the time. So anyways, I dropped everything, moved out here with a hockey bag, and and really have kind of went through a ton of industries and gained a lot of experience while doing it. But I always had the dream in mind to be in the sports and retail industry. So I moved out here at 20, got to work. I ended up getting a job at Joey Tomatoes in Chinook Center here in Calgary as an expo/food runner, and ended up making my way up to shift lead night manager within 6 months, I think. And so that's always been a big skill set of mine, is really moving up in companies. And so did that. I ended up losing that job for some dumb reasons, and took a bartending job from there for 6 months. Didn't like it. I needed to get out of the restaurant industry. And so I think I was probably 22 or something at the time, 23. And I wanted to start traveling and stuff. So I just, like, out of the blue, applied to WestJet. Ended up getting a job there as a guest service ambassador. And then worked my way up to a customer service agent. So that's like boarding the flights and everything there. So I had a lot of fun doing that. It wasn't great money, but again, like, the travel was cheap. So that was a lot of fun. So, in order to make some more money, I decided to get a second job while I was working at WestJet. So I got a job at Pitney Bowes, selling office solutions. So that was kind of my 9 to 5 by day job, and then I'd go work at the airport at night. And so I really, again, like, I learned this work ethic through my parents, through my older brothers. It's always been ingrained in us, but just to work our ass off. And so did the 2 jobs thing for a while, and from there ended up, what did I do after that? I ended up getting a job at Jamin Home, selling new home sales. And so I was in the new home sales market and industry. That was a wicked job, made really good cash, but always in the back of my mind, I knew I wanted to start my journey of, getting into the sports and retail market. And so I was making 6 figures almost in that job, but I ended up dropping everything. I got bored of it. I said, screw this, I'm going to just chase my dream. And so that's where it all kind of starts. And I took a massive risk and a huge hit on income. And I started working at Sport Check. I just walked into Sport Check one day. I said, look, I want to chase my dream. Like, let's do this. And so I started at 26 doing that and making $14 an hour, I think, in a very expensive city and booming city. So that was a tough year to go through that much of a change in lifestyle, income, all that stuff. But I think after a year of that, I ended up finding an opportunity in head office for Zanny Group, so FGL Sports. And so that's kind of where it all began for me. And I got a job there as a production coordinator, and then worked my way up into product development manager, managing some creative teams, manufacturers, and managing over 200 SKUs at that. So I was in, like, the outdoor and lifestyle category. So, like, camping gear, tents, sleeping bags, all that stuff. And then, finally got into doing some skateboards, some scooters, some inline skates, all that fun stuff. So, that was truly another dream of mine, is to kind of get to that spot in life. And I did that, and that journey was, from start to finish, I think the journey was 8+ years, I think 8.5 years. And so, and so that's kind of, where I'm at now. And, starting my own business and something like that, and also, working at the gathering, it's nothing short of incredible, and I love what I do, and wouldn't change it for anything right now. So
That's good.
yeah, sorry to go on a little rant.
No, I love it.
It's
Good.
So you're obviously a really ambitious person, got a lot of things going on. So obviously organization has to be a good skill for you to have throughout your life. So
For
what
sure.
does your morning and daily routine look like? And how do you form good habits to keep up with your organization?
That's a good one, because you know what, it's actually one thing that I need some growth in, and I need to find some routines, because I'm a very social guy. I'm very busy with work and personal life, so like my bedtimes vary, and therefore so do my wake up times. So that's something I'm working on, and I'm gonna get there. I know it, and I have a really good girl in my life now that hopefully can instill some a little bit more of a routine, which we are starting to do. So that's been great, but over the past number of years, it's been all over the map. But like the morning routine always starts with a shower. You can't start the day without a shower, and then getting a coffee and a smoothie into you, and then starting your day. And but you're right, the organization is key, but it's tough sometimes, because I think I have about 6 or 7 different email addresses that I manage, and different calendars and stuff like that. So it's a little bit scatterbrained, I know, but it seems to work for me right now. And yeah, I'm not a type of guy that misses appointments or misses phone calls. So it's definitely a busy lifestyle, but I wouldn't really have it any other way. So that's kind of, I wish I was a little bit better in terms of having a better routine and a little more organized, but I'll get there.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's something everyone can work on. Like coming out of high school, I thought my organization was good. Then the first week of college, I realized that I really have to step it up right now if I want to keep up with the group.
For sure, man. It's tough, but it is important. I understand the importance of it, and it's one thing to talk about it, so I just got to do it, and so I'm gonna get there. I know I will, for sure.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think echo that. I think that's something everybody needs to work on, especially when you're in business development, even in school. Being organized and having a bit of routine is so important, just to keep you on that same mindset. But Reilly, let's talk a little bit about adversity. You've obviously gone through a lot of changes, as you just described, on your career journey, a lot of personal hardships. You took the income hit. But in your career, in your path that you're doing right now, tell us a little bit about what you do to kind of overcome adversity. So let's say you've got a super demanding client, or a deadline somehow gets dropped by the team. How do you combat that? Is communication so key in those instances, or how do you handle that?
For sure, man. And even with the gathering, we're a lean machine. Like there's only 3 of us that run this thing full time, and it's a world-class event. And so, there's lots of adversity, especially, coming out of this pandemic. It's there's been a lot of adversity there to overcome, but, I look at it with a positive mindset, and, no matter what the adversity is, there's always a solution. It's certainly a mental game when it comes to that. But, quite honestly, yes, communication is definitely key, especially when you're running events like that, and you just have a small team. It's super important to have those open lines at all times every day. But quite frankly, we don't miss deadlines. It's something that needs to be a priority at all times. And they're in place for a reason. And if there's a deadline in your calendar, it's up to you to hit those, in the best interest of your team, no matter what. So, but yeah, I mean, in terms of adversity, it's especially with the gathering, right? Like, man, you've been there, and see what it takes to pull something off like this. You got to be bold. You got to make crazy decisions. There's not a lot of decisions out there that are irreversible, right? So when you're running a business like that, it's you got to move quick, and you got to be bold, and just run with those decisions, and not really hinder too much on, whether or not you're going to go here or going to go here. It's like, just do it. And if it's not going right, you can pivot again. And, one of those pieces of adversity is, we just released the date for 2021 for the gathering. So we're, it's going to be April 19th to the 21st of 2021. We were the last conference to go in 2020, and we're hoping to be the first back. And so, those are bold decisions that you make. And there's probably going to be some adversity that comes with that decision. People are scared to travel. A bulk of our audience is from the States or globally, Brazil, Mexico, wherever it is. And so, we just decided to go with it and run with it. And we're going to make it happen regardless, whether or not the border is going to be open, whether or not people are going to be okay and feel safe traveling, but we're going to do our best to make everything happen. And so those are, some examples of adversity to overcome there.
Yeah, those are some good ones for sure. I know that the past 2 times I've been, it's been absolutely fantastic. So whether 2021 looks more virtual or online, obviously there'll be social distancing measures in place. I know it will still be a fantastic event, and I'll see you there, man. I'll definitely be there.
Absolutely, yeah. You're a lifer now.
I think so. Yeah,
you're moving to Calgary, aren't you, in just a few months?
Yeah, I think so. So I should be there representing Indelible, which is super exciting.
Love it. So we'll be in the same building. So there's no way you're getting out of it.
Yeah, sounds good. Awesome. Cool. Go ahead, Jared.
Oh, perfect. Sorry about that. So you obviously were quite fortunate enough to go and work in several different business industries. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned about business and running a business or working for a business that you can share with some of the viewers today that are hoping to get into something similar to you?
Great question, Jared. One thing I like to do always is always have goals written on paper or write a letter to yourself to keep yourself accountable. I find that super important and super valuable. When it comes to meeting some goals, that, if there's any aspiring business leaders that are listening today, it's, have those set in stone and something that you can work towards. And so, I think some other really valuable lessons I think that I've learned along the way is chase some of your fears. Like today, I was, a little bit nervous about doing this podcast. It's my first one ever, but a lot of growth comes from chasing those fears. And I'll never say no to growth. Life's a journey. And I always want to continue on that path of growth. And, oftentimes I use that Mamba mentality, to better myself every day. And this is one of them where I'm pushing the limits today on being fearless. And so that's another thing that I've learned. And I guess with that, it's not, don't chase your weaknesses, because we all have those weaknesses. But in business and in life, there's so much out there that you didn't really know existed or didn't know that could be a strength that you could have in your repertoire. So never be scared to try new things. And then, I think lastly, probably the most important is work ethic. It sounds simple, but it's not. It's something that is a craft that you need to work on every single day. There's a lot of sacrifices that come with working your ass off every single day. You get tired. Sometimes you lose touch with some close friends or family, and that's never easy. You hear a lot of no's in business. So, again, like if you combat that with working your ass off and grinding away, a lot of gratitude and a lot of reward comes from that, because good things come from an awesome work ethic. And so I think that's some advice I would say that everybody needs, and it's a craft that can be put together, and it doesn't come naturally. It comes from grinding away. So
yeah, I love that mindset, and thank you for sharing that. I think that's super important for our students who follow this podcast to hear is chase your fears, chase your dreams. And college is a place where you're allowed to be comfortable. You're allowed to fail there, and there's a safety net. But
Yeah.
if you don't chase what makes you uncomfortable, you will not have any growth, and you won't get to where you need and where you want to be. And I love that. So thank you for bringing that up, because the people who are involved in the college can say it till we're blue in the face, but we need to hear it from people like you who are living it every single day. So
Sure,
thank you for
appreciate
bringing that up. So another question I got for you, man, you've touched on a few of them, and I just want to delve into it a bit more, but if you could narrow down, what are some of the absolutely biggest lessons you've learned in business that you can share with us that would be beneficial to our business students?
I think maybe one other thing that I didn't touch on is, if I could tell a younger self some advice, I think it would be to chase those dreams much earlier than I actually did. Now, yeah, it took me a long time to get where I am. I'm coming up on 35 now, and there was a lot of detours in there. So, I think there's something in there that says, if you have some of those dreams, like just go get them much earlier. And it sounds cliche. It sounds easy, but like, when you get put into this monster of business world and the business industry, there's a lot of things that come from that, and a lot of growth that come from that. And I think if you can get started earlier than I did, I think that would be another piece of advice. But yeah, I think like you said, I kind of touched on some of the other things in the previous question. So, I hope that answers some stuff. Did that at all, Leighton? I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure. We don't need to go over stuff, but yeah, I love that. Chase what you want, because if you don't, you'll never get it. And one of the big things that I have taken to heart is, we've all heard the quote, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no, right? So that's something that you got to chase, you got to go after. I know Jared is going to be a fantastic police officer for us one day. And, he wanted that, and he's going for it. So kudos to him.
Yeah, I love that.
I gain inspiration from working with students, on a daily basis who come to school and are focused and know what they want to do. And to me, that's what it means to be brave and be courageous. And it takes a lot of strength to get there. So you see it across all different disciplines, but it's awesome to see and hear that.
And I think, and just to touch on it too, I think a quote that I heard the other day, and I think it's very relevant to Jared as well, is fear is a choice, danger is not. So choose to be fearless, not to be fearful. So I think that really would resonate with you, Jared. Obviously, being in the police force industry, it's you deal with a lot of danger day in and day out, but choose to be fearless but smart at the same time.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. So Jared, I know there's a couple other there. Why don't you give them one or two more?
Of course. So obviously, it's very popular. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. They like the creativity. It gives you a lot of options. So with the students coming in from our business and marketing, what's one or two skills that you see that often students going into the entrepreneurial and business industry are lacking?
That's a good one. I think off the get-go that comes to mind first, it's, I'd say the biggest thing that I've seen students is, entering the business world is a lack of confidence. And, I also get that, like, confidence does come with experience, no doubt. But listen up, man, like, school is so much different than the real world and the real business world. So, all I can say there is be ready for the call. And, I also see a lot of students thinking that, clocking in at 9 and clocking out at 5 is okay. But, I think that's bullshit. If you want to get noticed in the corporate world, or if you're starting your own business, like, you literally need to put in like 15, 16-hour days. And, if you want to get noticed or you want to grow a company, that's what you got to do. And, the clocking in at 9 and clocking out at 5 is absolute nonsense. And also, the whole work smart, not hard, I also think that's bullshit, because again, it touches on my work ethic piece that I touched on not long ago. It's, you have to work hard no matter where you're at. And if you want to see growth, you're going to have to work at it always. And I touched on it again. It's like, you want to be successful, like think Mamba mentality and get better every day. And, that's really all I can say to that. So.
Right. I have one last question. So
Yeah.
Obviously it's important to have connections in the world, and it'll get you your foot in the door, if whether it's an interview or just knowing the right people at the right time. In your opinion, what would be the best way to network yourself, to put yourself out there for other people to find you?
Yeah, I think obviously, social channels is one tool that we all use. And, when everything gets back to normal, hopefully in a couple months after this COVID-19 pandemic, getting out to social events, networking, you never know who you're going to run into. I've been fortunate enough to work overseas, and now with the gathering and it being a global event, I've had a lot of really cool connections over the last number of years, and obviously LinkedIn's a great tool for that. I use LinkedIn a lot, and Instagram when I can. I try to keep Instagram a little more on the personal side of things, and LinkedIn on the business side of things. But man, yeah, just get out there, put out content. Don't be scared, and put yourself out there. And that's really all I can say to that. It's networking and getting your name out there is easy. You just got to go do it.
Okay.
And it's so
hopefully
important
that answers
as well.
your question.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, it's so important as well to, especially in business, to be proficient at networking. We've all heard the quote, it's not what you know, it's who you know, especially in the world as it evolves. And you're going to see so many fantastic opportunities for growth by who you're connected to, rather than getting, a 4.0 GPA.
Yeah. And one other thing to add, I think I left out was, go into relationships giving. I'm a big believer in going in and leading with kindness. So find out in a conversation how you can help them first, because for sure that comes back 10 times. And so I think that's some of the best advice I can give as well. So definitely lead with kindness always.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree there, Reilly. Well, thank you. This has been absolutely fantastic. I think we've learned a lot about you. I'll give a shout out to Woodboards in the description of the YouTube channel. Maybe we can get one or two of our students riding those this year. That'd be awesome to kind of see that around this part of town. But Reilly, thanks. Before we let you go, man, really appreciate you making yourself available to us and our students. Tons of knowledge, tons of great messaging that we can glean off you. So thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thank you guys. That's it means a lot to me, and I'm glad that we could do this together, especially with it being my first time. And I really appreciate your time. And again, thank you for the call out on Woodboards. Also, if anybody has product ideas and they want to get them to market, I'm also your guy. So reach out and shoot me a line. And then, of course, for the gathering, you got to experience it, and you don't really know the magic until you experience it. And I'm a huge advocate for that. So thanks again, guys. Have an awesome day and a great weekend.
Hey, thank you, Reilly. We'll sign off. Thanks for joining us again.